Hello, and welcome to another Tristan Has Thoughts Destiny 2 discussion. With Lightfall right around the corner, I have a little bit of writer's block as to what I want to talk about and discuss, as I'm really just waiting to get my hands on Lightfall. I'm really excited to play it. I'm looking forward to Tuesday quite a bit, but the other day, when I was messing around doing some GMs and stuff, I was thinking about, exotics, looking at some of the exotics I was getting, and I was thinking, man, the 3.0 reworks, on top of Heart of Inmost Light being the way it is, really ruined a lot of exotics. Not that most of these exotics were good before 3.0, but now they just feel worse. So today, I'm doing a little bit of a live video where I'm going to go over some of the exotics and thoughts about, what's changed, are they better, are they worse? Not quite a ranking video, but, just kind of some thoughts on exotics going into Lightfall. With the effects of the 3.0 reworks on them, so on and so forth. So let's, just get right into it. So, starting off with Insurmountable Skull Fort. Arc melee kills grant health and melee energy. Insurmountable Skull Fort has always been just a kind of solid exotic. I think it was a little bit better when the Thunder Crash 2.0 node used to give bonus super energy. It was either on kills or on hits. I'm not sure, it was one of the two. So what you could do is you could use Insurmountable Skull Fort with Ballistic Slam. That's the melee where you jump in the air and you slam down, and you get a bunch of melee energy, you'd start health regeneration, and you'd get super energy. And you can do that, chain it really quickly, get a lot of supers. I remember doing this in Gambit. As far as I understand, Ballistic Slam doesn't give super energy anymore, or bonus super energy. So, not quite as maybe potent as it once was, but I do think most definitely an okay exotic. Most of these exotics, you can use them. There's nothing wrong with saying, I love using Khepri's Horn. You play how you want, and if you enjoy using Khepri's Horn, you enjoy using Khepri's Horn. This is just more... I think some of our exotics need some updating. They need a little love, especially after 3.0. Mask of the Quiet One. Sounds great on paper. Grants ability energy when you're damaged. When critically wounded, regain maximum health on kills. Then you remember, all of the 3.0 Titan reworks have a way to heal. You have Controlled Demolition on Void, along with Bastion for overshields. You have Healing Nades on Solar Titan, with the Cure from the Throwing Hammer on top of Lordly Splendor. And Arc Titan has Knockout, which heals on melee kills. So, the healing part isn't as valuable anymore, because healing has been added to almost every subclass besides stasis. Now you can make an argument that getting maximum health on kills is better, but when you compare this to something like Heart of Inmost Light, right? This gives ability energy when you're damaged. Heart of Inmost Light just gives you ability energy and recharge rate just for using your abilities, and it gives you bonus effects, and it gives you an insane increase to the regeneration rate. The Mask of the Quiet One really just can't compete. It couldn't compete before 3.0 reworks, and it most definitely can't compete now. Khepri's Horn. There's going to be someone out there who has, 5,000 hours played on Titan. They only use Khepri's Horn. They love it. And you know what? Good for them. It's just okay. It's probably going to be overclassed now by the Titan exotic coming in Lightfall. That's Suspense. It's basically Khepri's Horn but Strand. It's probably going to be overshadowed by that. In PvP, you can do some funny things with this. I'm sure I've seen Cami Cakes get 3 kills with Khepri's Horn, with 1 barricade. But PvE-wise, it's middling at best, and there's better options. Helm of St. 14 was a pretty popular Titan Void exotic before Heart of Inmost Light became as crazy as it is. It is most definitely not bad, but I do think Well has overshadowed it now. I don't think there's a ton of need for Bubble anymore. Most people just run Well because it has healing, damage resistance, damage increase. Sure, it's not as much, but it comes with a lot of bonuses, and you could shoot through it well, right? So, Hell of St. 14, a little less popular because Bubble is less popular than it is, and I think there's better exotics to run with Void Titan, but it can be useful. It has its places. It could use a little love, but I don't know. The Void Overshield is nice, but now that we have Bastion, 3.0, we have an aspect that does what an exotic does, essentially. But you don't have to use your super, so 3.0 moment. Eternal Warrior. Overshield when activating Fist of Havoc. 1, Striker's not great. You're never using this in PvE. This used to have some niche uses in PvP back when people used Striker. You would swap to this to get an Overshield when you pop your super. With the no swap modifier coming to things like Trials and Comp, not that anyone was using Striker, but that makes this exotic even worse. This exotic just needs a complete rework. It was bad before, it's still bad. One-Eyed Mask, basically it highlights people who shoot you, and you can kill them for an Overshield. PvP-centered exotic. I'm sure it has some people who love it, who really like using it in PvP. I think right now the hotness is Peacekeepers with SMGs on Titan, but I don't think this is bad. I don't play a ton of PvP, it's hard for me to say, so the PvP exotics, I'm a little hesitant to be like, this is bad or this is good. I'm sure it's decent, but I think right now the hotness is Peacekeeper SMG, so probably to the wayside. Precious Scars. Basically, if you used a weapon that matched your subclass, so I'm solo Titan, I'm using a solo weapon, I get a solo kill, there's burst of healing around me. Someone dies, I resurrect them, it gives an aura that gives everyone overshields. Sounds good. PvP, I think this has maybe some uses. I used it a little bit in Rift when it first came out, because the respawn timers were really long, and it had, I recall having success with it. I don't know if that means it's good in PvP, I'm hesitant to say, but let's look at a PvE aspect. 1, 3.0s have a lot of healing. Sure, they don't have a lot of healing for your allies, but remember Bastion on Void Titan gives everyone an overshield. Don't need an exotic for it. 2, the being revived or revived, generally people are going to wait to revive you until it's safe, right? If you're being blasted by a Hydra and a GM, your 2 teammates are probably going to kill a Hydra before they res you. And once the danger is gone, the overshield isn't amazing, on top of it just kind of being hard to die in a GM, unless you're really out of position. This might have had more of a footing in the 2.0 world, but I think in the 3.0 world, this has most definitely fallen to the wayside, just with how much healing and the access to overshields you have on Titan. I just don't think this is as good as maybe it once was. Lowly Splendor, just a solid exotic. Basically when you get low health on solo Titan, gotta use your barricade, put a sunspot, and give you restoration. Not as good as Hoyle, it's a common theme, and that's the Hoyle issue. But it's a very solid exotic. It's going to make it impossible for you to die. Not too much to say here. It's just good. ACDO feedback vents. Basically, as you punch things, you get energy built up, and then when something punches you, you release that. PvP could be a little funny. Bubble Titan, lots of people like to come in and scrap with you. Could be good. Again, I'm not too sure. I don't play a ton of PvP, and I think Peacekeepers are the hotness at the moment. PvE, Dune Marchers basically does this, but better. You're probably not getting melee that often in PvE, and I think the damage is very underwhelming. Doomfang Pauldron, an exotic I actually use. I have a build with this. I like Doomfang Pauldrons quite a bit. Getting the bonus super energy from melee hits in your super is very nice, and then if you build around it with something like Monte Carlo, anytime you get a void melee kill, you get super energy. So you can build into getting your super kind of fast, and staying in your super a long time. Issue is, Heart of Inmost Light, your abilities are just about as strong as your super, and Sentinel isn't amazing. It's just a generic kind of roaming PvE super. It's not amazing, but I like this. It's a solid exotic. Again, like, it's not Hoyle levels, and the argument is, should all exotics be brought up to Hoyle, or should Hoyle be brought down? You know, I personally think Hoyle is a little bit too strong. It chokes out a lot of exotics, but that's because a lot of exotics just aren't great. So I think before maybe you nerf Hoyle, you need to bring other exotics up, or it's gonna feel like what do you go to on Titan, right? I can admit that Hoyle is too strong at the moment, but then also in the same breath say, yeah, but most of our other exotics suck, like, or they're like so niche, right? And I kind of think Doomfang kind of falls into that scenario where Doomfang's good, it just cannot compete with some of the stronger exotics. I like Doomfang Pauldrons though. I have a build with these. I use like energy converter, throw my grenade, get a bunch of super energy, get a bunch of melee kills, get your super really fast, and if there's a lot of enemies, you can stay in your super quite a while. So, solid exotic. Synthoceps, just a solid exotic. Longer melee range, and better melee and super damage when you're surrounded. This can be really good with something like Burning Maul, Roaring Flames. I'm pretty sure that's the build I'm using right now. Yep. I got Lament, I got my Judgment of Kel'Groth, Shotgun, all about being in melee, doing a little fisticuffs, getting a lot of damage. So Syntheseps are a really good exotic. There's not too much to say there. Let me click back to exotics. Just a solid exotic. Pretty good. This is probably, if Hoyle got nerfed, what I would be on most of the time. Just saying. Aeon Safe. It does a more billion things, but its main use is generating heavy on champion kills. With the artifact mod this season, giving you heavy ammo on champion kills in Lucent Hive, basically not useful. In most GMs nowadays, most people don't use these. With how potent abilities are, you can use your abilities in place of heavies. Look at stuff like Protocol Warlocks. Excuse me. So overall, it might see some use in the day one, where heavy ammo is a little bit more needed and required for DPS phases and whatnot. But outside of that, it's a little niche. It does have its uses. It's got a cool, idea where if everyone's wearing them, they can do different things and provide different buffs and whatnot. Just didn't quite pan out. I don't think it's bad. It gets a little too niche. Ashen Wake. Basically, your fusion grenades go faster and explode on impact, and you get fusion grenade energy when you get kills. This, I think, is more of a PvP exotic. I've used this in PvE once or twice. I don't like fusions on Solar Titan. That's me, though. Maybe fusions are really good. It's an okay exotic. More PvP. You can do some funny things in PvP with it, with Roaring Flames. I think you can get fusions to one-shot in PvP with 3 stacks. I think. I don't know anymore. I used to be able to, for sure. But yeah, it's not bad. It's just a little Wormgod Crest is basically the other side of the coin for Synthos, except Wormgod Crests are uglier. Melee kills increase your melee damage up to 5 times. This was a big proponent of the bonk one-shot that has been, nerfed like 10 different times. As far as I understand, you're not one-shotting bosses anymore with this build, but I believe these work with glaives now, like Syntheseps, and it's just kind of a solid exotic. More damage on your melee, go around punching things. Not bad, not something you're taking into a GM or a day one, but, not every exotic has to be at that level. Ursa. Unfortunately, Sentinel Shield, not great. Bubble, also not great. Ursa Furiosa, you saw some use the last time I remember seeing a lot of people using it was Proving Grounds GM, Season of the Chosen. 3 Titans could basically chain this back to back because the tank room is pretty hard. But with our 3.0 reworks, abilities being so much more potent and Grandmasters generally just being easier, I don't think this is needed as much. Has some niche situations where it's useful, but 9 times out of 10, you're probably not using these. You're probably not using Sentinel Shield, or at least blocking with Sentinel Shield or guarding. And don't forget they cap the super energy regeneration at 50. The max amount you can get back is 50. Strongholds. If you like swords, you're gonna like Strongholds. I actually think Strongholds can actually be quite good. With certain builds, you can be nigh unkillable. I love watching Titans in PvP get sword ammo and just run at you with infinite guard, and there's nothing you can do. The healing on it is also quite nice, does require some timing. I think Stronghold is a good exotic, it just requires you to use swords. Swords aren't meta at the moment, and they're not overly popular. But I could see using Stronghold in my current build. Maybe I play Stasis and something, go for like insane damage resistance. It's a little overkill, but it has its uses. Titans shoot through barricades. This basically got destroyed because it was making PvP unbearable to play against Titans. Never had a use in PvE, was always a PvP exotic, now it got hit down. I still think Peacekeepers are better, so rest in peace Titans. ICEFALL Mantle. Sorry, I gotta shift in my chair. Oh my goodness gracious, my poor chair. So, basically, this gives you an on-demand shield for yourself, using your barricade, but you're slowed. and your barricade doesn't recharge. And to that, I say Bastion. You can get an overshield without slowing yourself, and it starts to recharge. This has never been great. This always struck me as when they released this, we're afraid this could be too strong in PvP. And then they added the Bastion aspect to Titans with Void. So, I don't know. I mean, you slow in an AoE, it's just not good. Just play Void Titan and use Bastion. We literally have this exotic as an aspect on 3.0. So just do that. No backup plans. Shotgun final blows when you have full melee energy, consume your melee energy, but give you an overshield, and then shotgun final blows give you melee energy. I think it's supposed to be like a PvP exotic for shotgunning, but you could just use Bastion to get an overshield. And a lot of people might be like, Bastion, are you talking about the exotic? No, I'm talking about the aspect. I guess I should have said this earlier. I'm talking about the Titan aspect that gives you an overshield when you use your barricade or your super. So, that's what I'm talking about. I probably should have clarified earlier, but that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I think it's a PvP exotic, completely overshined by Bastion, I would argue, and Peacekeepers, so it's unfortunately not good. Second Chance, I don't own it. That's crazy. You're probably thinking, damn, you play Titan, you don't own this exotic. I never want this exotic. So this exotic launched, it didn't break shields in one hit. Bad. They fixed it. I believe it breaks barrier shields in one hit now. Might have uses in lost sectors, legendary lost sectors, where you don't want to use whatever weapon is anti-barrier. But I feel like with how potent abilities are and just the options you have now for dealing with barriers, you don't really need this. Like, just use Heart of Inmost Light, essentially. Sure, you're not going to stun champions, but you're probably going to get more melees with Heart of Inmost Light than you are with Second Chance. So, I think this exotic is niche. I'm sure you can build around it, and oh, it's really good, and oh, I could deal with all champion types, but how often are you having to do that outside of a lost sector, maybe? And most lost sectors only have 2 champion types. You're going to dedicate your exotic to breaking... your exotic armor to breaking barrier shields? No one uses this. I'm sure there's 500 build videos about how good this is. I'm not impressed. Point contact can embrace. It's worse Skullfort. For lack of a better way to describe it. So you have to use Thunderclap with this. Okay. So you kill targets with Thunderclap, get melee energy. And then when you do it, there's like AoE lightning around you, and it's stronger when you're amplified. 1, you don't get full melee energy back unless you kill a lot of dudes. Okay, worse than Skullfort. 2, the AoE around you does no damage, and being amplified makes it do 2 more damage. Like, it's bad. It's a bad exotic. Like, you don't want to use this. Use Skullfort. If you're using this right now and you love this exotic, please use Skullfort. You're gonna love Skullfort. Or use Hoyle. The issue is, you have to use Thunderclap. Now, I'm fine with that. You know, saying, we want you to use Thunderclap with this exotic. That's completely fine. But you gotta at least make it better than Skullfort. Like, you gotta remember, Skullfort starts healing when you get kills and gives you your full melee energy back. This doesn't do either of those things. It's just inferior in every way. Crest of Alpha Luffy. Additional overpower from supers and a healing pulse when your barricade is activated. With the 3.0 world, with how much healing there is, I think this has most definitely fallen to the wayside. The additional overpower in PvP maybe could be a little funny. Maybe Titans with bubbles with this could chain bubbles, I think maybe. That's a little funny. But for PV, and like, why are you using this? Use Hoyle. Come on, use Hoyle. It's on the chest slot. Just use Hoyle. That's the issue with Heart of Inmost Light and 3.0 reworks. It makes half of these exotic shit. Actium War Rig. If you're using Xenophage for DPS, it's pretty good. If you like machine guns and autos, and you just never want to have to reload, it's not a bad exotic. I don't use it a ton, but I remember using it in year 1. It's okay. It's just okay. It's not bad. And if you really like auto rifles and machine guns, there you go. you're never gonna have to reload. And if you're using Xenophage for DPS for some reason, it's solid. It can be funny, don't get me wrong, it's not for me. Hollow Fire Heart. This is Hoyle at home. So, Hollow Fire Heart was an exotic I used a ton in year 1. I always played solo in year 1. Hollow Fire Heart was great, because supers sucked back then. And abilities weren't that great either, but at least having lots of abilities was good. So basically what it does, it gives you increased recharge rate on your solo abilities. When you have your super activated, you get a lot more recharge rate. So the idea being is, you could use your abilities more, but you can't use your super. There's a trade-off. Okay, that's not bad. Hoyle makes this exotic irrelevant because 1, Hoyle, you can use your super. 2, you don't have to be on solo. And 3, it increases the damage of your grenades and your melee and the health of your barricade. This exotic needs to be changed. It needs some love. If it's going to be just on solo, give it some love. Give it a giga buff, a turbo buff, whatever you want to call it. This exotic needs some love. Armamentarium. I used to use this exotic a lot. Another grenade was great. And then they changed Hoyle, and now just use Hoyle. This still isn't a bad exotic. Like, in a world where Hoyle doesn't exist, this is probably an exotic I'd use a lot. Having an additional grenade is pretty good, because you have to remember, only in the 2.0s, only, I think, Top Tree Striker had the double nade. So this was just always good. This could be really good with Strand, too. I think Hoyle will just be better with Strand, but it could be. In a world where Hoyle gets nerfed on Tuesday, 90% of what I'm saying in this video is irrelevant. Well, maybe not 90%, but all the comparisons to Hoyle aren't going to be quite as potent. But, this, in a world where Hoyle doesn't exist, this is probably an exotic you would have seen Titans using a lot this year, with Storm Nades and stuff, right? But Hoyle, unfortunately, means this exotic isn't used. And we come to Heart of Inmost Light. This thing just does everything. Like, why would you not use that? And that's kind of my issue. And I know people are going to say, oh, just because it's good doesn't mean it's boring. It's boring. I'm tired of using it. I'm so tired of being glued to this exotic and it being the only decent exotic on Titan, really. Again, like I've said, the argument is Hoyle too strong? Do things need to be brought up to its level? Or is Hoyle too strong and needs to be brought down? I would argue Hoyle needs to be brought down, but other exotics need to be brought up. Should Heart of Inmost Light be better than Hollow Fire Heart? No, but is Hollow Fire Heart too weak? Yes. Like, both things can be true at the same time. Please spare me the theatrics about, oh, all you guys want to do is get things nerfed. Please wake up. Learn what nuance means. There's nuance in everything. Just because one thing's too good doesn't mean another thing is not bad, right? We can live in a world where Heart of Inmost Light can maybe not just do everything, and some other exotics can do a few things. So, let's go with that. Severance Enclosure. When this exotic came out, I was really excited because I thought I was going to be able to roleplay as Kira from JoJo. And then it was bad. So, I don't know if this has been changed. I haven't used this exotic in a while. But, it used to be the explosion happened where the body flew. So, like, if you punch something in a group of enemies, and you killed it, and, like, the body went flying, it would, like, explode where the body was. Maybe they've changed that. I don't want to say this is going to be, like, sleeper good, okay, guys? Like, I'm not saying that. How this could be good, though, depending how the grapple melee functions, if it works as a powered melee attack, but doesn't use your melee energy, this could be good, depending the damage. Again, I don't know what the damage is like. I don't know what, it might still only explode where the body flies. So if you go and punch something as you're grappling to it and it flies off to Narnia and explodes in Narnia, yeah, you're going to kill a wardrobe, but you're not going to kill anything you want to kill. So, hard to say. The concept, just not great. Curious. If you're using Thunder Crash, you use Curious. But Thunder Crash is worse than using Hoyle, so you're probably using Hoyle. I wish Thunder Crash just did the base damage of Curious, and Curious was reworked to do something else. I don't like exotics that make your super do good damage. I think super should just do good damage at base, Thunder Crash should just do Curious damage at base, but change Curious, make it interesting. I don't know. maybe the longer you fly, the more damage it does, or something. Like, that's probably actually not a good change. Don't listen to me. But give it an effect of some sort. Maybe the longer you fly, the longer the AoE on the ground stays, which just means more damage for your super. And like, then the thing becomes, okay, for a damage phase, is it better to fly around so I can have that longer ticking damage, or is it better just to hit the boss and do the damage? Yeah, something like that. I want Thunder Crash buff to do curious damage and rework cures, because I don't like putting on an exotic to make my super feel like it does damage. My super should just do damage. If you want my super to do bonus things or whatnot through exotics, that's fine. Don't tie my super damage to an exotic. It's boring. This exotic's boring. I don't like this exotic. Hoarfrost Z. It's an interesting concept. Changing your barricade to basically a stasis wall, but with a little space you can shoot through. I think if you're like a big stasis build crafter, you probably use this exotic. I don't think in PvP it's that great, but if you build craft big into stasis on Titan, you probably use this exotic, which makes it pretty good. If an exotic enables build crafting, I think it's good, right? This is the opposite of Hoyle. Hoyle means you need no build crafting. Hoarfrost Z enhances your build crafting because it gives you an extra way to get stasis crystals. So I can get it from my weapon, I can get it from my barricade, I can get it from my nade, and then I can build into all that. Hoyle just does everything, right? Like, Hoarfrost Z is what Hoyle should be like, you know? It should enhance your build crafting, not be in place of it. So I think this is probably an okay exotic. Overall. Lion Rampant, it's a movement exotic. Not much to say. It's good if you have to jump. Maybe you use it with like Skyburner's Oath, maybe the exotic. In PvP, do some funny things, maybe not. Peacekeepers, it's a PvP exotic. As far as I understand, people hate Titans with Peacekeepers and SMGs. I don't play a ton of PvP, but I know these are kinda, I don't know if it's Peacekeepers plus how powerful SMGs are, or the combination, or one or the other. I don't think it's just Peacekeepers. I think it's SMGs have really good crafted ones, and they're just really good right now, and then Peacekeepers just makes them better. But this is probably your go-to PvP exotic if you're using an SMG on Titan. Dude Marches, it's another movement ability. Sprint speed increase. The melee's kind of fun. I use this exotic from time to time in some of my PvE builds. The chain damage in PvE is not great, but in PvP it like goes through walls and shit, I think. So 2 thumbs up. Mark 44 stand asides. Just not good. Just use Skull for it. You get an overshield when you're sprinting at full health with a shield charge. Okay. And if you hit, you get some energy back. Not good in PvE. I don't think it's good in PvP. This one probably needs a full rework. It needs to do something else. Antaeus Wards. Reflecting things. Probably good in PvP if you can use it. I think it's probably a higher skill cap exotic because you have to know the timings and stuff to block things. But probably lots of clips you can get with these. It's a PvP exotic, so I don't have a ton to say. Overshadowed by Peacekeepers at the moment. If SMGs aren't quite as potent, maybe these get used, maybe One-Eyed Mask. Probably just Dude Marches though. Peregrine Greaves. Just makes your shoulder charge do a little more damage. Not bad. Has one-shots in PvP, if you're in the air. So it has, you can use it to counter bubbles and stuff. People used to use it in PvE a little bit. You could use this in place of Skull for it. If you want like your shoulder charge just to do like one big burst of damage, but you could always just do like Synthosaps or Worm Gods too. So I think a little bit weaker than maybe other punching exotics, but it has its place in PvP, I think, a little bit. Phoenix Cradle I actually think is quite good. A lot of people don't use it though, giving your allies Restoration and Soul Invictus, and it lasting twice as long. Now that they remove like the damage and the regen, remember that was removed with Solar 3.0, Sunspots used to give you damage and like pretty good ability regen, they got rid of that. So I think these took a hit with 3.0 for sure. I do think they're good though. I think when it gave the damage buff, it was really good to pass that to your allies. Is there a world where they could make this exotic give like a 5-10% damage bonus to allies only, maybe, who walk through your sunspots. Maybe that might break PvP, I don't know. But I don't think they're a bad exotic. I think they just got a little bit owned by 3.0 reworks, unfortunately. And last but not least, Path of Burning Steps. So these were added to counter stasis, and then everyone was like, why do I have to run an exotic to counter being frozen in stasis? And it also wasn't good. People use these in PvP, I think, with solar weapons to do funny amounts of damage. You can use these in PvE as well, if you use a lot of solar weapons. If you want to get big damage bonuses. It's basically just free damage in PvE. You're always going to be getting kills with solar weapons. The harder to slow and freeze thing, and when you break out, you do a big burst of energy. I don't think that's any good. PvE, it's basically just a walking damage bonus for your weapons, and PvP, it's just a walking damage bonus for your weapons, essentially. And there we go. That is all the Titan exotics pre-Lightfall. I just wanted to kind of highlight exotics need some love, man. I really want to see exotic reworks rather than new exotics. I think this season, with us not getting exotics, I think if they do that again going forward, I'd rather see them do exotic reworks, one per class. Because something like Mark 44 Standardicides, you could just completely change this, make it do something new, and it's essentially like a new exotic. Yeah, sure. It's the same name, but if you change this perk to do something new and cool, it's almost like a new exotic, right? So, and then they don't have to, there's a lot of things they don't have to do. They don't have to, you know, make a whole new exotic, design it, and then all the work that goes into that. You know, okay, well, it doesn't have any ornaments, but some of these already have ornaments and stuff, so people might be tempted to buy them. So I would rather see, you know, we make some of the older exotics better. Which one should we start with first? Can we make fucking point contact cannon brace useful? Like, if you're a Titan player, you didn't get an exotic this year, besides Loyalty. Because Second Chance isn't great. Point contact cannon brace is not good. And we didn't get an exotic this season in Seraph. The Titan players, truly oppressed. Rise up, gamers. You know, you've been using Loyally and Hoyle for a year. But overall, yeah, I just wanted to point out, like, exotics have been kind of power crept. A lot of them have been power crept with the 3.0 reworks and just with Hoyle at the moment. And yeah, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, a subscription is greatly appreciated. Tomorrow's video is probably going to be me talking about Lightfall spoilers, what I'm going to be doing going forward with that. Expect talk videos with topics and stuff probably to come back Wednesday or Thursday. Because I do want some time to play the expansion. I do have a video for Tuesday and Wednesday coming out. Then it's going to be kind of like today, not my normal videos. But hopefully you enjoy. And remember, whoever you like the video gets, Capybara gets a big scritch, very important. And be kind.